Welcome back to the Nikki Clarke Show here at a different book list. And today, joining us is a registered psychotherapist, and she's also the author of The Anxiety Warrior. Please welcome Elke Scholz. Awesome. Thank you, Elke.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And I am so happy that you're here to share some of the things that you've been doing. And anxiety is one of the things that you've been helping people to conquer. Anxiety is not a stranger to many people. We deal with it sometimes on a daily basis, some better than others. So let's talk a little bit about your background as a registered psychotherapist, and who are the people that come to you, and then how you got to writing this book for people, The Anxiety Warrior.
Okay, so when I started my therapy practice, what I noticed is that I was going to say 9 out of 10 people, but it's really 10 out of 10 people that come with anxiety. And it's part of who we are. It's part of our human spectrum. It's not a wrong thing. However, when it becomes a problem is when it stops us from living, when it stops us from seeing friends or going and pursuing the jobs we want or taking the trip, then it's a problem.
So it's self-limiting.
It can be,
beliefs.
yeah. Actually, yeah. So what happened is, and the reason that this book came is when I was little, I would have flu symptoms, migraines, and we didn't talk about anxiety then. My dad thought I was faking it. My mom let me stay home, and usually it was based around a test or big projects. And I was also one of those kids in the classroom that if someone got in trouble beside me or behind me, I would cry. So I grew up thinking something was wrong with me. And as a teenager, I would stutter. I still switch my letters and my words a little bit, and when I get really excited, I stutter, especially when I want 3 themes or ideas, try to put them together. But I've just accepted that as part of who I am. And then in my 20s and 30s, what I look back now is that I also had depression, and anxiety and depression do go together. So if you have depression, you usually have anxiety. If you have anxiety, you usually have depression. I didn't know that at the time. I was an arts facilitator, a creativity facilitator. I thought I was a positive thinker, and yet I would get out of bed, send my son to school, and then I just go back to bed and I get up. But I thought that was okay.
That was normal.
Well, that was my normal at the time. So then fast forwarded to, and there were a couple big changes in my life. And I remember one time driving down the street, and it was sunny, and I'm healthy. I had a little bit of money in my wallet, healthy children, and yet I felt really depressed. And I thought, you know what? Millions of people would just take my life like that and switch places. And I thought, why am I not dancing in the streets?
Right.
Why am I not excited? And so that really began a journey to change my life. So I went back to school, and then fast forward to my private practice. What I noticed is, like I said, so many people are coming in with anxiety, and a lot of these things are accessible. So they're things that, I wish we would teach in school. They're things that when you understand what anxiety is and where it comes from, and the strategies can be quite simple, so you don't need to be debilitated. So it started me on a journey of public speaking, and I'm a handout queen, so I'm always giving out handouts, and this handout on anxiety started to grow. And one day I looked at it, and I had all these handouts in my hand, and I said, there's a book here. And I called my editor, and he said, call me in 2 weeks. And by then I had 65 pages. And he said, wow. And I said, you know what, Scott, this is 12 years. So it was just putting things together because it was an exploration that, I was looking at managing my anxiety. And what I discovered that it came from about 11 different places, because I would manage my anxiety in one area, and then it would go down, and then wham, I'd get it somewhere else. So it really was it became a fascination, actually.
Okay.
So
Well, I think that's so 12 years. In
12 years of living, researching, because I didn't know I had anxiety until I actually went to the doctor. And it was about 12, 14 years ago. And I wasn't sleeping for about 2 years. I had post-traumatic stress. And I had some good people watching over me. And my friend said, if you don't go to the doctor, you're going to get really sick, because I didn't sleep for 2 years. And that's true. Yeah, I just rested. I'd be exhausted and I would just rest.
Was it like just racing thoughts? You just couldn't turn off your mind to sleep?
My brain would not go to sleep. Yeah. Well, what happens is when you have trauma like that, your adrenaline is going and it's like you're on coffee all the time. So your brain is not going to let you sleep. So you just lay there. It's not fun, but.
Yeah, I can imagine that's quite an ordeal for anyone to endure. So anxiety then, for people who may not really understand what that means, what is it in simple terms?
Well, anxiety is anticipatory fear. So that's kind of an edited version, though, again, it comes in different layers. Like fear itself is not a bad thing. If you're between, like I'm from up north, so if you're between a bear and her cubs, you're afraid. And that means survival. You've got to do something.
Okay.
So, but if let's say I told you there's bears on the trail and you decide, oh, I'm not going to go, and you start getting worried, and that is anticipatory. Fear is anxiety.
Okay.
So it's looping thoughts, so there's looping worry, and that's stress. And a lot of people kind of, like anxiety gets pretty mixed up and layered.
Okay, so would you say the long-term effect of anxiety that hasn't been checked is depression?
I don't know. I don't know. It could be.
It could be?
It could be,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's very discouraging. I think, like I said, I thought something was wrong with me until I was actually reading a book on anxiety for a friend, and I realized it was about me. So, yeah, and then, and even this whole journey, and I feel like I'm the anxiety warrior. My whole bedside table is a warrior station, from water to rescue remedy to journaling. And you know what? I still get anxiety. So I just have learned to shorten it and make it smaller.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's talk about some of the remedies then.
Sure.
For anxiety. What have you shared in this book?
Well, I start with some real simple things. So you can change and lower your anxiety level right away.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that if you are dehydrated, your brain will actually send signals to your body that are like anxiety. So the first thing that I do and recommend my clients is drink water. And you don't need a lot, even if it's just a little bit. Usually that little bit will lower the anxiety within minutes. Yeah, it's really incredible. And then we have to look at our sensitivity. So I always look at, what are we putting in our body first?
Mm-hmm.
So chemicals, physical, looking at that at the beginning. That's the first strategy, and it's a big strategy.
Okay. All right. And then sleep.
Huge. Yeah, and there's, is it lack of sleep that creates anxiety, or is it anxiety that creates lack of sleep? So we look at all those things, and a lot of times it's substances. So I will have my clients stop and experiment because every body's different. So my brother, he can go to sleep after having a cup of coffee. I smell coffee after about 2 o'clock, I'm up all night.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, and sugar, white flour, all of us have different sensitivities. So play around with that. And I've had clients where they've stopped caffeine at noon, and then they came back and they're going, I'm sleeping every night. Didn't realize even that decaf was keeping them up. So some simple things like that, looking at your diet, what are your sensitivities, are the very first things.
Okay. And I would also think that your environment too
Absolutely.
sets the stage for anxiety. So if you're in an environment that is, going to trigger, it's best to kind of remove it, or even people in your environment that.
Absolutely. So environment, like you said, overstimulation. There's a thing now. since we've had cell phones, we're all a little more expectant on that text coming in or what's coming through our phone. And we may not see that as anxiety, however, it just takes us up another notch. And I have this scale 0 to 10. So calm is 0. Doesn't mean you're happy, just means you're chill. 10 is I can't put a thought together. So even that excitement of a phone call or a text can put you up a notch. And sometimes if it's only a 1, that's okay, but then add dehydration to it, add overstimulation to it, and all of a sudden you're climbing up, and when you can be going the other way down. So yeah, that's just some of them.
That's a really good analogy for that. So tell us, how can people get a copy of the book?
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's also reality. So I just wanted to say real quick, because people think that they're anxious because maybe there's a job interview or they're moving. Sometimes it's reality, and it's okay. So I've had people come in and they tell me what's on their plate and they're really anxious, and I'm going, that would make me anxious too. And they just go, oh, okay, so I am okay. It's okay to be anxious because I've got all these things on my plate. And so then they can cope with that. So sometimes anxiety is just what's happening in life.
And you just need someone like yourself just to say, okay, that's a reality check, and to give them assurance.
Right, and you might not sleep for a couple days, or you might be nervous for a week or 2. However, it'll pass. It's not something that's forever.
Awesome. Okay.
Sorry.
No, and getting a copy of this book, how do we go about doing that?
Well, you can get a copy here at the bookstore, also Amazon, ebook, your favorite ebook platforms, and at the website, different places like that too.
Fantastic. And you also have a podcast, right? People can listen to you online?
Well, I've got, actually, thank you for mentioning that. On my website, there's so many free resources, so you don't have to sign up, because I know if you have anxiety, you don't want to do that. And everything is free, so there's radio shows, there'll be your show, there'll be strategies, there's free downloads, there's a gifts page. So if you need something, just go for it, and it's there as a gift.
Okay. Well, you've been a gift to us here, and helping us heal our anxiety. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Anxiety warrior.
Chat about it.
Elke Show. We'll be back. All right, thank you for joining us here at the Nikki Clarke Show. We have a fantastic lady doing great things in the community. She is the founder of Epigram Consulting Services, and she's also the author of From Dreamer to Creator, Reframing Deterrence in Our Path. Please welcome Karen M. Lowe to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I am very honored that you're here. Thank you so much. And I love the t-shirt. The t-shirt is actually, is what I'm saying, is the cover of the book. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Epigram Consulting Services. I know you've been doing that for a while now, and how did that evolve?
So I did my master's in business at Schulich York University, and then when I was finished, we finished during the recession, and a friend of mine suggested that we started something based on our thesis. So that's how it came about. It's evolved, where now we focus mostly on hobbyists, people who have a hobby. They don't know the business side of things, but they're really, really good at what they do, and they want to get to the next level. So I walk them through different stuff, the business side of it, the finances, product differentiation, things that we in the business world find simple. It's not so simple for everybody. So we walk them through the different processes, teach them how to do research, stuff like that, and just help them to develop a business from their hobby.
From their hobby.
From their hobby.
So my first business was Bead for Health. I actually started to make jewelry as a hobby, as a way to meditate, and then people noticed the jewelry and started to get orders from there, and then started this business officially, registered it in 2006. So that's an example.
That's a perfect example, because a lot of people say, you know what, Karen, I'm getting orders, but I don't know what to do. Where do I go from here? How do I market it? How do I go further out into the community or into the business world? And that's basically where we come in to help them just put certain processes in place for them.
Okay.
So
And many great businesses, small and large, they come from a dream.
they come from a
Right.
dream.
So tell us now how to make that dream come into manifestation. So from dreamer to creator.
So from dreamer to creator, it is written from a business perspective, but I've learned that everybody is interested in the book. So most of us, we have a dream. I had a dream to write a book, but I never wrote a book until now, last year. So we look at, sometimes we're afraid. One of your guests earlier talked about anxiety.
Fear and anxiety.
Sometimes we say we have no money, we're procrastinators. So the book basically says change the way you think.
Okay.
So even though you have no money, you're going to start with a business plan, and then the plan itself will actually help you to get money. Or you can go to your friends and your family, you can pre-sell ideas. Procrastination, setting lists in terms of making goals and actually achieving them. So the book basically says change a conversation in your head that will actually help you to get to the next level and to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve.
Okay. Because sometimes people have self-sabotaging behavior. They have this amazing dream, but they put up all kinds of walls to keep that from happening or slowing down the journey. So you say just eliminate
Change the
all those
conversation in your head.
barriers in your mind and then just go for it. So even if you have no money to
If
start
you
a
have
$1 million
no money, you
company,
can actually do it.
you can still do
You
it.
can do it.
Yeah.
If some people say family, oh, I have this big family, have your family get involved. Use your community as a marketing tool. You love to cook, for example. So when you cook, do something really cool for your dinner, and then you take it to work and you share it with your coworkers. They'll actually now taste what you've made, and guess what? When they have a party, they'll actually invite you in or ask your boss to hire you. Some companies will actually look internally for outsourcing before they actually go out. So whatever it is that you think you can't do, there's always a path that's way easier than you think it is.
Okay, so what are two things that you want us to get from this book, besides some of the principles of just eliminating barriers to success?
So we talked about money before. One is procrastination. So we love to procrastinate. A lot of times when we procrastinate is because one, it's something else, or we're either afraid or we have no money, or we tell ourselves we have no time. So procrastination, take a step back, figure out what it is do you love about something, and then you focus on that love, and then you allow you to do the things that you don't really like. Time. There's always more time. Most of us take public transportation to work or to somewhere. While you're waiting at the doctor's office, you can actually be doing stuff. Most of us do a lot on our
Or you're stuck in
smartphone.
traffic.
Exactly.
Hello.
On your smartphone, there's an app called Evernote that I use to predominantly write my book.
Really?
So while I was on the go, I was always writing a different chapter or adding something to it. So you always have the time to do what you want to do. So time is one, procrastination is one. Most of us procrastinate. It's just to recognize that you're doing it. Last night somebody texted me and said, Karen, I'm reading your book. I'm procrastinating. I'm supposed to be doing my kids' lunch. Just recognize what it is that you're doing, and then it's gonna work itself out.
Procrastinating by reading about the chapter on procrastination. That is funny.
But honestly, it's time. You always have time. Money's never ever deterrent, and I'm giving you more than two. And procrastinating is a big one that most of us struggle with.
Can you tell us about your own challenge in business? I know it's not
It's not.
a bowl of cherries for everybody when you're starting
No, it's
in business, and staying in business for more than a year also has its challenges.
I'm horrible. I'm not a good administrator, or it doesn't come natural to me. Let me put it that way. Administration doesn't come natural, but it is a big part of running your business. So what I've done is to create lists. I have to-do lists, and I actually have a chapter in the book that talk about creating lists. And then I set goals, and hard goals and soft goals. So I'm always looking at these things to actually help me to do the things that it's not a natural thing. I have a picture of what my company is going to be like in 10 years' time.
Do you have like a vision board?
I don't call it a vision board.
Okay.
I do believe in them, but that's not what I call it.
Okay.
But I have a picture, and I encourage my clients, have an artist or somebody actually draw something for you, and then have it put up, and you're always looking at it. As a child, I read a book about owning a business, and that's how I wanted to become a business person. And I've always had that vision, that picture in my head, me sitting in my office. I actually laid out for you in the book. I always have that picture, and so every time I get frustrated or something's not working out for me, I go to that picture, and it motivates me to continue, to get up and start doing it again, all over again. So for me, it's making lists, making goals, and just having my picture as to what it is that I'm working towards.
Okay. Who are your business inspirations?
Wow, my mom, she's not in business, but she, so I grew up in Jamaica, and a lot of
What part of
Jamaicans,
Jamaica?
I'm going to say Trelon because that's really where the parish I was in. When I go home now, I go to Montego Bay, but I actually grew up in Trelawney. But my mom and a lot of Jamaicans, they're hustlers.
You
They're
sure are.
actually entrepreneurs, but they don't call it that.
Hustlers Unite. Yeah.
They don't call it entrepreneurs, but that's what they're actually doing. And my mom has always been that person who really pushes and push you to do it. And so for her, she is my biggest inspiration. There are a few other people out there that I look at. I try to learn from them in terms of their actions by doing case studies and all that stuff. But my mother is the biggest person in terms of pushing me and helping me to recognize that the simple things that you think can't help you will help you to actually succeed in business.
Okay. So let's take a look into the audience lens and someone who is about to embark in business. What pearl of wisdom can you give them right now?
Call me. Okay. So, what pearl of wisdom? You just need to create your vision, know what it looks like, and then start working on it one step at a time. You just need to make one step at a time, to actually go to the next level. I'm gonna go out also and say you can call me, epigramconsultingservices.com. Epigramconsulting.com is our website. Epigram Consulting Services is the name of our business. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. And one of the things that we do on Instagram, instead of putting our own personal stuff, we're always putting teaching nuggets on our pages, because that is what we actually want people to take away from us. Always learning.
All right. So tell us again the website.
Epigramconsulting.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And that's where you can buy the book.
And you can actually get the book on Amazon, on Indigo. I actually have some copy with me today, or you can go to the website as well. But yes,
Awesome.
if you actually order from, if you're in Canada and you order from Indigo, you can have it shipped to an Indigo store close to you, or they'll ship it to you, or anywhere in the world. My books are selling all over the place, even in Japan. It's a pretty cool book.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Karen Lowe, everybody.